Now look, the Vice President came all the way here to the Charles H. Wright Museum to see every last one of you. So I want to ask you one more time. How we doing, Detroit? On behalf of my partner in public service, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, I am so proud to welcome all of you to the historic Charles H. Wright Museum and to welcome the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, here to Detroit, Michigan. Now, she's joined here on this visit and this important set of conversations around the country about economic opportunity and agenda that works for everyone. That's something that we understand here in Michigan, especially in the city of Detroit, a city that has historically defined wealth creation for the Black community here in America. You see, there are so many people around the country who, when they came to Detroit for the first time, it was the first time they saw Black folks or people of color who had money. Y'all know I'm right, please don't know yourself. We know how to show ours off a little differently than everybody else. But what underlies that is the fact that people saw a path to progress here in Detroit, Michigan. Whether you were families who came as part of the Great Migration like my own, or whether you were entrepreneurs who were so enterprising that discrimination couldn't keep you out of your dreams, whether you were people who were part of the labor movement born here in the state of Michigan that worked to provide a future for their family the way that they could see fit, where they were respected and protected in the workplace. They knew that Detroit and Michigan was a land of opportunity. But too many people too often feel designed out of opportunity today. And that's why we are so proud that this administration has said no. We will reject any people being blocked out of possibility. And we are proud to be partners on the state level to realize these dreams and potential. I want to give you two examples of programs that Governor Gretchen Whitmer and I have been able to launch here in the state of Michigan that have helped make a difference in this regard. We have leveraged something called the State Small Business Credit Initiative, a federal program that exists to make sure that capital can more easily flow to the people with ideas to create a future. And through that program last year, we launched something called the Michigan Economic Opportunity Fund, a $10 million fund that leverages those resources that says that business owners, entrepreneurs with ideas, either getting started or trying to take the next step in their business, but who cannot qualify for a bank loan, that the state of Michigan and your federal government, this Biden-Harris administration, will say yes to your dream and your future, and we will give funding to more than $50,000 to businesses all across the state of Michigan. But it's not just any business, because those who are more likely to be locked out of bank financing have historically been Black entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs of color, women, veterans, entrepreneurs who are differently able. This fund is specifically and intentionally designed to help those who have been locked out of opportunity. That is what it looks like to create economic opportunity in Michigan and in America. The second program is something I'm excited about because, for those who don't know, I'm a technology guy. I'm a software engineer by training. We want more diverse people to start the kinds of high growth companies that will change our economy and to change our destiny here in the state of Michigan. Well, we launched something also leveraging those Small Business Credit Initiative dollars called the Michigan Venture Capital Small Business Fund, Small Business Venture Capital Fund. And in that fund, I was proud to announce that we provided resources to a Metro Detroit-based Black-owned and Black-led venture capital fund here in the state of Michigan, up to the tune of $22 million that will create that will give people with an idea a chance to grow that here in Michigan and not have to feel like they have to go elsewhere to raise resources. What do we want if not a chance to make our reality real at home? What do we want if not an opportunity to have a barrier removed so we can realize our possibility? Well, that is what this tour is about. That is what this conversation about. And that is what I am so proud that our vice president is laser focused on, not only this year, but for the rest of her service as the vice president of the United States of America. So again, I want to thank all of you for choosing to spend your time together and with us today here in the city of Detroit. This is a city where just one opportunity, where just one little amount of time can change your life. And we know that your life will be better for it having spent time here today. Thank you. God bless you and enjoy the rest of our event here.
Please welcome U.S. Department of Commerce Deputy Secretary Don Graves.
Well, hello, everyone. It is really great to be back in the D. I'd like to thank the Vice President for inviting me to join you all today. As many of you know, I've been here before a few times. I was just here in Detroit in February, meeting with community leaders, small business owners, in what I think we all would say is one of America's greatest legacy business epicenters. And this topic of economic empowerment, economic opportunity is personal for me, not only as a fellow Midwesterner, but as someone who's been on the ground in this city, helping to turn despair and disaster into hope and healing. During the Obama-Biden administration, after years of underinvestment and disinvestment, and after the Great Recession had swept through Detroit and the rest of the country, leaving the city in bankruptcy, I was asked by President Obama and then Vice President Biden to be their point person on the recovery of Detroit. It was some of the hardest but most rewarding work I've ever done in my life. And I don't need to remind folks in this community of the challenges that you faced, but together with the mayor, with local elected leaders, with the community, with stakeholders all across this region, we worked together. The community came together, focused on rebuilding the city infrastructure, city services, creating a new economic development strategy focused on creating quality jobs, investment opportunities all across this community, even where Wall Street wasn't able to find them. And even during such a challenging period, Detroiters never buckled. Together, you all, with our support, drew up a roadmap to recovery, a recovery I think we can all now confidently call the Detroit Renaissance. Today, we're in the middle of an increasingly competitive global economic environment with ever more aggressive competitors and adversaries. And under the leadership of President Biden and Vice President Harris, we're making historic investments in Detroit, in Michigan, and all across the country that aren't just righting this ship, righting our economy, but they're positioning this country for generational economic opportunities for all Americans, not just some, but all Americans. Our Minority Business Development Agency helps millions of minority business enterprises with over 131 business centers, including the Detroit Business Center. The Detroit Business Centers help hundreds of businesses to secure millions, actually hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts and create or retain thousands of jobs all across this region. Now, I joined Vice President Harris last year to announce the Minority Business Development Agency's Capital Readiness Program, a $125 million investment in incubators all across the country to help minority businesses and other underserved entrepreneurs access the capital so that they could start and scale up their businesses. Incubators like the Northern Great Lakes Initiative right here in Michigan, helping entrepreneurs to launch and grow those businesses. Our Economic Development Administration at the Commerce Department is also hard at work helping Detroit to reassert its leadership in the automotive industry through the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, awarding more than $52 million to Detroit's Global Epicenter of Mobility Coalition to help supercharge the city's AV and EV manufacturing capabilities, creating what I think we all want. That's high quality, well-paying, family-sustaining jobs, not just for now, not just for tomorrow, but for decades to come that will power the United States to being the leader globally. And thanks to President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law, we're investing nearly $50 billion to ensure that every home, every street, every business, every school, every institution in Detroit and all across Michigan and across the country is connected to high-speed internet and has the tools and the affordability to be able to use the internet. That's going to allow all of our kids to learn the way that they haven't learned before. It's going to allow our seniors to have access to telehealth services. And it's especially going to help our small businesses, not just to sell down to Gratiot, not over to Woodard, but across the state and across the country and across the world. So the story of Detroit's Renaissance is really a story of American resilience in the face of fairly long odds. It was a whole society effort, community stakeholders, local, state, and federal, all coming together to deliver for communities. That's what brought Detroit back from bankruptcy. It's that same whole society effort that we're taking to rebuilding this country. It's what's driving the great American comeback. This is what President Biden and Vice President Harris's Investing in America agenda is all about in action. One thing is absolutely clear as these investments are rolling out all across the country. We're laser focused on building a brighter, more equitable economic future, not just for some, but for everybody, for every street corner, for every household, for every community in this country. It's so good to be back in Detroit. Let's keep the economic opportunity flowing. Thank you.
Please welcome U.S. Department of Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm.
All right, Detroit. Man, I feel like we're at the NFL draft. It's so awesome. So great to be home. So great to see you all. Great to be here with our Vice President, who is here to announce some great news for this area and for the country. So, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, what a rock star. Deputy Secretary Graves, I know you're over there somewhere. Julie Sue, who will be coming up after me, the Labor Secretary, and of course, our Vice President, who, along with our boss, the President of the United States, is bringing manufacturing back to the United States in a big way. And can I just say, folks, the evidence around us in terms of what we are seeing on the ground is amazing. So, for example, since the president's agenda was passed, the Department of Energy alone has committed more than $6 billion in grants and loans benefiting Michigan. And that just pales in comparison to what the private sector is doing in Michigan between the tax credits and the grants that are happening. So in Michigan, just in the energy space, we have seen 50 companies announce that they have come or are expanding in Michigan to manufacture clean energy products. 50 companies that have said, we are going to come and hire people in Michigan, hiring more than 21,000 people, $22 billion in investment, good paying jobs. Good paying jobs. You know, so as factories go up, as cranes start to appear and people wonder, can I get one of those jobs? So we are, you know, for companies, there's no shortage of a desire for talent. And for folks out here, there is no shortage of talent. So we got to connect talent and those who want to hire folks. So as of today, I just want to say applications are open for a first of its kind fellowship that'll help ensure that local workers can get those jobs. Are we okay back over there? Is that all right? All right, good. The program is called Readiness Accelerator for Major Programs, or RAMP. And what it is the connective tissue between a job provider who wants to offer a job and a worker who wants to get a job. And we are asking for folks to apply for these RAMP fellowships. And for those who might be interested, We want you to go to energy.gov ramp to learn more and apply. And this is how it works in practice. So just in Southeast Michigan alone, just in Southeast Michigan, you realize there's this whole cluster of economic development around the electrification of vehicles. There are 16 companies just in Southeast Michigan that have announced that they are expanding for electric vehicles. There's other companies who are expanding that they're announcing for other projects. So for example, this company called Lux Wall, this is a company got $31 million in federal funding to build energy efficient windows at a former coal plant in the Delray neighborhood in Detroit. That project alone is going to create 277 jobs. So as a condition, right? But as a condition of receiving the grant, they're going to be committed to strong worker training and apprenticeship programs so that local workers can fill those 277 jobs. So this is how it works. In receiving funding, we are making sure that a company commits to training on the ground and hiring local workers for those jobs. And that's why this connective tissue is such an important part of today's announcement, in addition to what the Vice President will be announcing here shortly. Bottom line, Michigan, you guys are killing it in terms of jobs, job creation, in terms of the electrification of the auto industry, in terms of the UAW, in terms of union workers. I'm telling you, this is a great day, a great administration, and a great friend to Michigan. Thanks, y'all.
Please welcome U.S. Department of Labor Acting Secretary Julie Su.
Thank you so much. It is always great to be in Michigan with hometown hero Secretary Granholm, who is showing up and showing what Michigan stands for and what Michigan can do across the country and around the world. So for President Biden, Vice President Harris, and our entire administration, Made in America is not a slogan. It's an economic strategy. And Made in America means made by America's workers. We've seen this right here in Detroit. We've seen it in Michigan. We've seen it with the auto workers. Last year, through their strength and solidarity, the United Auto Workers not only reached a historic contract with 25% wage increases and improvements to health and retirement benefits, but also showed what it's like when workers have a real seat at the table. And when workers help to define the future of an industry. They show that Made in America is a strategy that benefits both American workers and American businesses, ensures that we can protect our climate while growing good union jobs, and we are here today to support a longtime iconic American industry and set us up to lead in the future by making sure we have a resilient and strong supply chain that includes small and medium-sized businesses, and where workers who make profits possible share in the prosperity. So President Biden's Investing in America agenda is about infrastructure. It's about roads and bridges. It's about modernizing airports. It's about manufacturing electric vehicle batteries. Our workforce system is also a form of infrastructure. It's the roads and bridges that connect people to the good jobs they want and need, and employers to the people that they want and need. But that infrastructure has some challenges too. It's got some cracks. It's got some potholes. It doesn't reach every single community the way that it should. Too often people hear workforce development and they just think about training. No. Black workers and other workers have been left out not because they lack the skills, but because we have not built the roads and bridges that connect all communities to the good jobs that we are creating. We have to create a situation where economic opportunity is broadly shared. And so we are going to fix that this time. We're going to do it right this time. In President Biden's and Vice President Harris's America, we are building a workforce infrastructure that connects all communities, that is the bridge from poverty to prosperity and from racial exclusion to real equity. And that's why we have named Detroit a workforce hub. And so Secretary Granholm and I look forward to working with all of you, with the employers who are in this room, with community-based organizations that serve communities, including Black-led organizations, with educational institutions, with unions, and with local leaders to connect people to the good jobs that are being created right here. We also have to make sure that all jobs, including battery manufacturing jobs, are safe jobs. Because while we expand our capability in new ways so America can lead our clean energy future, we have to make sure that we don't revert to old conditions in workplaces in which workers have to sacrifice their limbs, their lungs, or even their lives when they go to work. All workers have to come home safe and healthy at the end of the day. So this is a historic time, as you've already heard, for manufacturing in America. This community knows what it looks like when we make things here, the pride, the economic security, the ways that good jobs lift up all communities. But you also know what it's like when those things leave, the insecurity, the precarity, the fear. Not this time, not on our watch. We're gonna do it right. We're gonna do right by America's workers, and we look forward to doing it with you all together. Thank you.
Please welcome. Please welcome U.S. Black Chambers Incorporated CEO Ron Busby Sr.
Good afternoon, Detroit. This is truly an honor. Before I begin, I want to make sure that I give a couple of acknowledgments. First off, thank you to the museum for allowing us to be here this afternoon. Is this not a beautiful facility? And I want to also acknowledge Ramia Ambrose Burbank, who worked diligently to pull this off. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Ron Busby, and I'm the president and CEO of the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc., headquartered in Washington, D.C. We represent over 170 Black chambers with a membership of over 300,000 Black-owned businesses. We were founded in 2009 on what we call the 5 key pillars: advocacy, access to capital, contracting opportunities, entrepreneurial development, and chamber development as well. It is truly an honor to be here with you this afternoon. For many of us, the wealth gap has been a conversation that we have had for hundreds of years. Our Black families and white families just have a huge difference between the financial wherewithal of our communities. The only way you can truly find solutions is through good policies, policies that are intentional, transparent, and accountable. That's what today is all about. This administration is addressing these major challenges, such as reviving Main Street America post-COVID. You see, during the first 3 months of COVID, between the months of February and April of 2020, we lost 41% of all Black-owned businesses. Roughly 442,000 businesses closed. And when we surveyed them, they said it was because of lack of capital and good information. This administration understood those challenges, and because of the work that they have done, over 75% of our businesses have reopened, gaining higher revenue goals than they have received in previous years. But this administration is doing more. They are also working to enhance workers' rights, reduce student loan and healthcare burdens, and promote affordable housing, all issues that impact the Black community at a much higher rate. As I travel across America and visiting Black chambers and engaging with Black business owners, the potential I see is immense, yet often hindered by a lack of necessary resources. That's why today's visit and announcements are so pivotal. They reaffirm the commitment I've always seen in Vice President Harris and this administration to prioritize and uplift those often left behind, supporting entire communities and business sectors like the auto industry. DE&I, or what we call diversity, equity, and inclusion, are truly under attack. And let me address it in this way. It's not some mythological concept that's going on. When they talk about DE&I, it's you and I that are under attack. This is being seen across the board from private sector, public sector, including corporate America, Main Street, as well as colleges and universities, as well as federal government contracting opportunities. As these attacks continue to rise, we face threats of stifled progress towards an inclusive economy while curtailing critical innovation. As this year progresses, we are going to hear a lot about making America great again. I can say that. And I will also say that as a Black business community, we want America to be great as well. But we say in order for there to be a great America, there must be a great Black America. And in order for there to be a great Black America, we must have great Black businesses. And in order to have great Black businesses, we need an administration and leadership that understands the challenges as well as the benefits of supporting our community. And so now it is my honor to introduce you to our first female and only Black Vice President of the United States of America. Please join me in welcoming the Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
It's good to be back. Good afternoon. Please have a seat. Please have a seat. I want to thank Ron Busby. Many of us have worked with him over the years and know, as president of the U.S. Black Chambers, he has been an extraordinary leader to an essential organization in our fight for economic empowerment. Can we please hear it for Ron Busby and his courageous leadership? And I want to thank all of the extraordinary leaders who are here today. Secretary of Energy and the former governor of this state, Jennifer Granholm, who traveled with me today on Air Force Two from Washington, D.C. She said, I have got to be in Michigan. I want to thank Acting Secretary of Labor, Julie Su, for all you do to fight for the working people of America. Deputy Secretary of Commerce, Don Graves, thank you for your extraordinary leadership. Representative Sri Thandar, thank you for you and your being here, and he is somewhere here. Thank you. And I want to thank also Representative Stephen Horsford, who is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Lieutenant Governor of Michigan, Garland Gilchrist. Thank you. So, Michigan, I believe that America's economy is powered by the ambition and the aspiration of her people. The ambition and aspiration to innovate, to create, and to prosper. Therefore, to grow our economy, we must invest in that ambition and those aspirations. I believe every person in our country then must have access to the opportunity to compete, to succeed, and to thrive. The ability to achieve what I call financial freedom, which means having enough not just to get by, but to get ahead. To be able to build a business, to own a home, to start a family, and to create intergenerational wealth. Which is why over the past 3 years, the president and I have invested now trillions of dollars in America's infrastructure, in clean energy and a clean energy economy, in manufacturing, and in supply chains. Our work is also guided by the understanding that there are certain communities that have faced historically and currently profound obstacles to acquire that opportunity. And I'll tell you, over the last 3 years, both in the White House and at the Vice President's residence, where I live, I have convened Black entrepreneurs from around the country to solicit their advice and leverage their expertise as to how we can have the greatest impact with the billions of dollars that we are investing, and to identify the challenges they face in building financial security and wealth, including disparities in access to capital and lending, disparities in home ownership and access to government contracts, to obstacles like student loan debt and medical debt. President Biden and I have invested hundreds of billions of dollars to address these disparities. And I launched then this national tour, the Economic Opportunity Tour, to bring together entrepreneurs, business owners, and community leaders, together with representatives from the United States Departments of Commerce and Energy and Housing and Labor and Treasury and the Small Business Administration, and the Undersecretary of the SBA is with us as well, to make sure founders and families have the information and assistance to access the resources they need. For example, on the subject of access to capital, we all know Black entrepreneurs do not lack for ideas or ambition, but often lack the capital that is necessary to turn an idea into a thriving business, to invest in inventory, hire employees, to scale up, In fact, Black entrepreneurs are 3 times as likely to not apply for a loan for fear they're going to be turned away from a bank. So 2 years ago, I founded the Economic Opportunity Coalition, a group of 31 companies and nonprofits, including, for example, the Bank of America, MasterCard, and the Ford Foundation, that are working currently to invest $3 billion in community banks. Banks which we know are uniquely designed to serve minority and women entrepreneurs. And this builds on the work that I did when I was the United States Senator in 2020 to invest $12 billion more in our community banks. Thank you. And understand, this work is helping Black businesses receive loans not only for thousands of dollars, but for millions of dollars. For example, I am proud to announce we are investing $100 million in small and medium-sized auto supply companies, many of which are Black-owned and based right here in Michigan. These grants will allow businesses to upgrade production and production lines to produce parts for electric vehicles. I am also pleased to announce the launch of a new program that will match government-backed loans with private equity capital to help small and mid-sized auto suppliers access loans from $250,000 to $10 million. The strength of America's economy is also based on the strength of America's supply chains. We all learned that in the pandemic if we weren't clear before. This investment will help to keep our auto supply chains here in America, which strengthens America's economy overall, and keep those jobs here in Detroit. We are also expanding access to government contracts. At the beginning of our administration, President Joe Biden and I pledged to increase federal contracts for minority-owned small businesses by 50%, knowing that traditionally and historically, folks didn't necessarily have access to the relationships to get those contracts. And we are on track to meet our goal by the end of next year, which means thousands more minority entrepreneurs with contracts worth hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars, contracts which can last up to 5 years with the option to renew for 10, 20, and 30 years. Think about what that means in terms of a sustained investment in all of the folks that over a period of time will benefit. Now, I also want to point out, because there is a contrast here between us and the last administration. The last administration invested access to tax cuts for billionaires. We are investing in access to capital for entrepreneurs. And this work and our overall perspective is that we must understand that if we want a great return on investment, we must understand the natural resources that are available and then see that and invest in those resources. To strengthen America's economy, we are also helping more people buy a home. Home ownership is one of the most powerful engines of intergenerational wealth. It builds equity, which can help pay for a child's college education or provide equity that then can be used as startup capital to start a business. But as a result of lasting legacies of structural inequities, such as segregation, redlining, and so-called urban renewal, Today, Black Americans are 40% less likely to own a home. And this is a sad fact, and home ownership rates for Black men have been falling for 3 decades straight. We've got to do something about that. So to help address these disparities in our budget, President Biden and I outlined a blueprint to provide folks who are first in their family to buy a home with $25,000 toward a down payment. To give families up to $400 a month to help with a mortgage, and to build 2 million units of affordable housing to lower costs for home buyers and renters. We are also calling out and addressing the issue of racial bias in home appraisals. We all know the stories. We've heard the stories. The stories like of a Black family that gets a home appraisal and the valuation is much lower than they know what their home is worth. So they get a new appraisal, only this time they replace their photographs with photos of a family friend who is white, and they ask that family to bring in the appraiser. And the new appraisal is much higher. We've heard those stories. Today, I'm proud to report that we have made it now easier for more homeowners to appeal home appraisals, and we have reached a commitment that all licensed home appraisers be required to complete racial bias training. And by the way, one of the people who is not present with us today that I want to thank is former Secretary of HUD, Marsha Fudge, for all that she did to make sure this would happen. So the bottom line is that every family, I believe, every family, whatever their background, their race, their geographic location, has a right to the full and fair value of their home. In addition to increasing opportunity, we have also focused on removing obstacles. One big obstacle to wealth building is debt. While an issue for many people, Black Americans are twice as likely to have medical debt and more likely to struggle to repay student loan debt. For anyone carrying debt, we know it is much more difficult then to save for a house, to grow a small business, to build intergenerational wealth. And it just plain makes people feel like they can never get ahead. So President Biden and I have made debt forgiveness a central pillar of our economic agenda. And we have already forgiven about $500 million of medical debt for hundreds of thousands of Americans across the nation. And in Wayne County, Michigan, we will forgive an additional $700 million of medical debt for as many as 300,000 people. And there's more. We are also implementing a rule, and this is critically important. We are also implementing a rule that medical debt cannot be used in calculating your credit score. Which means medical debt cannot be the reason someone is denied a car loan, a home loan, or a small business loan. On the issue of student loan debt, we have also forgiven nearly $160 billion for more than 4.5 million people. On average, more than $30,000 per person and $70,000 for our public servants like nurses, firefighters, and teachers. And God knows we don't pay them enough as it is. so it's only right. And please, to everyone here, all the leaders, help us get the word out. On the student loan debt issue, your student loan debt can be forgiven even if you didn't graduate. Please help us get the word out because it's only logical. Think about it. How many people have to drop out because they can't afford tuition? They don't graduate and they still have the debt. So Detroit, I'll end with this. All of our work, whether it be debt forgiveness, affordable housing, government contracts, or access to capital, it is all guided by a fundamental principle. President Biden and I believe in you. We believe in the people of our country. And so we believe that it is a great return on the investment to invest in the people of America and to invest, as we have discussed today, in your business, in your financial security, and your wealth. And this approach is working. Since taking office, we have seen record Black small business growth, and we have created more than 2.5 million new jobs for Black workers. And since 2019, Black wealth is up 60%. So President Biden and I are clear. These are not only our accomplishments, they are yours. It is the result of your drive, your creativity, and your power. And so I'll end with this, Detroit. Together, let us continue to invest in the ambition and aspirations of our people, of the American people. Together, let us continue to help folks create wealth and achieve financial freedom. And together, let us continue to build a nation where every person has the opportunity to compete, prosper, and thrive. Thank you all. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.